Prodigyrex. Today I'll be reading chapters 11 to 20 of Benji Franklin Kid Zillionaire, written by Raymond B. Let's get started. Chapter 11, Asteroids. The next morning I was out in the workshop downloading data from the satellite. Dad was back working on his magnetic suits. He reversed the magnets for the safety system, seemed to be about ready for a real-life trial. He had a fisherman in town that agreed to try it out with his crew. He dropped his boat off at our workshop earlier in the morning, and Dad was installing the system on the boat. That's when I saw it. An asteroid appeared on the satellite's data system. It was on a course to collide with the Earth. Dad, you might want to look at this, I said, my heart pounding. He was about by the boat, twisting with something with Rich. I can't right now, but is it good news or bad? He said. Both, I said. Well, does it look like it's something's going to take out our satellite? No, that's part of the good news. The bad news is that it might take out the planet. The whole planet. My dad is super organized. Everything else has a place. He already puts it when lunch. I thought it was kind of funny that even though there was a satellite screaming towards the planet, the first thing he did is put down his wrench carefully back in his toolbox. If there was a time to simply drop it on the floor, it was be sloppy, and this was it. What's the good news? Maybe we can stop it, I said. Benji, this asteroid is rushing towards Earth at incredible speed. So I don't think we can do anything about it, he said, skeptical. From my calculations, the asteroid is 60 days from impact, I said. Then I won't panic just like he said. I've seen some space debris that looked like it was on course for collision and suddenly changed course and sailed right by. Now it's going to let Unity get to the bus stop. How? How did they expect me to go to school after what I just told them? I don't think you heard me, I said. The whole planet, I said. I need to track this asteroid and send data so someone can save us. And maybe I can buy a laser cannon or some super-sized missile or a titanium fly swatter instead of football or... Benji, you're in 6th grade. And he said the world will survive without you on this one. You're not the only person with satellite tracking this thing. Everyone will be fine. Obviously, I couldn't agree, but I couldn't tell him more that no way that would let me stay home. On the ride to school, you think about the asteroid. I was working on my smartphone, which was really hard to do with all the house bouncing and all the kids talking. I made a list of ways to destroy or send off our course. How to stop the asteroid. 1. Blow it to bits. 2. Send it off course with a megaton explosion. 3. Redirect it of course with a giant sail. 4. Jackhammer it to pieces with high-tech machines. 5. Create a chemical reaction to disintegrate. I was so focused on my list I didn't even notice the person standing next to me, Cindy Myers. You know you're not allowed to use your smartphone on the bus, she said. You think you just on the app so popular you can do whatever you want? Well, my good morning to you too, Cindy, I said. I'm busy on an important project. I'm not playing video games or texting like you. I'm not texting or talking on my phone because that'd be against school rules. I'm watching this again. We have to work. That makes 2 of us, she said. I'm going to be real shame and principal takes your smartphone when it bans you from the bus. I knew when I was working you had given me a hard time, I said. She laughed. I find that hard to believe. Cindy had always been difficult, but she was extra annoying today. What's your problem? I said. I don't have a problem, she said. You're the one who thinks you're cool ever since you created that ridiculous computer app. Who says I think I'm cool? For information, I've never been considered cool. Well, you act like it. You created an app and then you didn't even come to school because you're a big shot now. You weren't the only one who worked hard on the app project, she said. She was upset that her app didn't get more attention than mine. I couldn't even remember what her app did. I haven't been schooled because I was busy helping out the food shelter, I explained. I think you're a troublemaker, she said. Then why'd you sit next to me? I said. I had bigger things to worry about than Cindy. Because I'm on the school decency committee and you're on my radar, she said. You haven't seen the damage your app has caused the kids. Kids are making up all excuses for you thanks to your reckless idea. I got a little anxious because I barely been to school since I created the app. I knew tons of people had downloaded it, but I haven't seen how kids were using it. Well, because I'm about to see for myself. Chapter 12. Big Trouble. Everything seemed to go pretty much the same as usual when I got to school. My app wasn't causing any problems as soon as I could see. I definitely was getting more attention than usual. More people seemed to know my name, which was funny because before the app I wasn't exactly popular. On my way to tech class, a few kids patted me on the back. I didn't like all the attention. It was a little stressful. I found myself walking quicker than usual. I slipped into class and was late to be out of the hall. Mrs. Hart started the lesson by welcoming me back to school. The kids interrupted her in class. "You're a superstar these days," she said. "We can't believe you're following your success online. I can't believe how huge your app is. Excuse yourself has become. I've been so busy with this showdown on Dr. Snow that I haven't had time to be real setting my app. I'm pretty shocked myself. Honestly, I haven't been able to follow because I've been following the app because I was working. I thought you were out because of the app." I said curiously. "Actually, I was busy because I was for another project for the food pantry." So the principal was petty and gave me permission to a few days to work on. Remember? "That's not an excuse," she said. "No, but maybe I should add to the app." I said. "Are you rich?" a student said in the back. "It's not polite to ask someone a question like that." He said. "We're all very happy for you, though, Benji." Realizing that everyone in school I knew I made a ton of money is embarrassing. James, the kid sitting next to me, and leaned how much money do you have?" "I don't know," I said, which is basically true because the numbers were always changing. And I checked the number before school and there were way too many zeros to count. Ka-ching, ka-ching. In my opinion, if he did have so many zeros, I'd be able to count. I've only been out for a week, but it felt like a year. When I got back to school that day, I went straight for the workshop. Dad was on the computer and looked like he'd been there all day. "Benji," I was wrong. He said, "people don't seem to be tracking this thing. You found something that others haven't noticed yet. I see why. It's not a known asteroid. I've been searching the database all day and can't find any record of it." "What does that mean?" "We may be the only ones who know it's out there." He said, "Most satellites are designed to locate asteroids larger than a kilometer. My asteroid is great at detecting satellite is great at detecting asteroids smaller than a kilometer. This one's the size of a 20-story building, so it's much harder to locate than a big one." A story on a building was about 12 feet high. At the chart of 20 stories, it measured over 240 feet long. "That's small," I said. "Compared to larger asteroids," I said. "It's big enough to cause a lot of damage, but still small enough to go undetected. It's good news that it won't destroy the planet, but if it hits, it'll do some real damage. Shouldn't we call the government or notify someone?" Not yet, sir. Let's give a few more days and see if it changed course." I logged into my computer to research what kind of damage an asteroid would do if it impacted the Earth. I learned that the asteroid that caused the extinction of the dinosaurs was about 6 miles wide. The asteroid I had located wasn't even close to the size, but it was big enough to level buildings for 5 miles from the impact location. I worked to try and calculate the impact and I knew that was during the neither of us said anything for about an hour. Then I broke the silence. "If my calculations are correct," I said, "the asteroid will hit Earth on Mom's birthday." I didn't have the heart to tell Mom that the one could be blasted by an asteroid on her birthday. When I went to the farm later that night, I didn't say anything about it. Mom hadn't wasting any time on taking over the farm I bought her. It was already producing milk and eggs, and she had a full-time staff. She also bought a few refrigerated trucks for deliveries. That night, she was checking on the chickens as I walked alongside her. You've been on the computer too long," she said. "Your eyes are bloodshot." "No more than usual," I said. She stopped and took another look at me. "What's on your mind, Benji? You look troubled." "I'm fine, Mom. Today was my first day back to school. It's a little strange. Kids are really focused on the app and all the money I'm making. I know this was partly true, and I'm really concerned about the asteroid. Kids your age normally don't experience this kind of success yet. It's natural for kids to be confused and ask a lot of questions." "I guess," I said. "There's something else you're not telling me. What is it?" I couldn't lie to my mom. Our satellite located an asteroid this morning, which was going to smash in the Earth in about a month. "Your father told me." "Yeah, I know. Your father told me a few hours ago," she said, walking towards me. "What? Why didn't you tell me that?" "I wanted to see if you told me on your own. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want you to worry." "I'm not worried, Benji." "You should be. It's on a crash collision with the planet. The whole planet. We'll figure something out," she said. Mothers, they're always so supportive, but this problem is a little out of my league. "I bet you already have a solution brewing in your head of yours, and you don't even know," she said. "You don't want an asteroid ruining your mother's birthday, do you?" Chapter 13, Spacing Out. I went for a walk with myself behind the trails on the farm. I couldn't help the feeling that there was a troodon going to jump out from the tree. I was pretty surreal that when I stopped to think how many things that happened to me in such a short time. I hardly remember the time before Excuse Yourself. I imagined the scenarios that might happen or change course or destroy it. I read online that once you blow an asteroid to bits, it becomes a bunch of smaller asteroids instead of a big one. A group of smaller asteroids acts like a shotgun blast and could cause even more damage. My mind kept cycling through scenarios and listening, okay, there had to be a solution. Instead of blowing it up, what if there's a way to capture it? I wondered. If I could land some sort of remote control and simply fly out like a spaceship. I tripped on a large tunnel, but I started to pick it up. I held it in my hand and started wondering how I could hurtle through space at thousands of miles per hour. I knew it as hard as watching a sail in the woods. I picked up a net and hurled it in the same direction. The vision of a net wrapping around the stone came to me. A net would stop or slow the stone down, but I couldn't figure out how to get a large net into space. Even if I did, how could I change the course of it? I picked up another stone and ran. Hey, Dad, I answered. Hey, Benji. He said, I just spoke with Dr. Snow. He said he has something else he'd like to meet. The troodon didn't escape again, did he? I said, hoping that was the case. Nope, the dinos are safe and sound. This is about the asteroid. Why don't you have Mom drive you home when you talk? When I got home, Dad was drifting through the old airplane parts in the backfield. He said, what's up? I asked. He climbed out to the rusty up in a small plane. Come on over, he said, dusting up plane for me to sit. What are you doing? I'm looking for some spare parts to see if we can make another low-orbit rocket, he said. But I wanted you to come home to talk to Dr. Snow. What do you say? He asked my permission to give our number to another scientist, he explained. Why, he said. Ed, what do you say? What did you say? Between the troodon and Excuse Yourself, you've been very busy. It might be good to take a little break. I'm fine, Dad. I'm too rich to take a break. And just then the phone rang. Hello, I said. From the other end, an English accent, and the man said, Hi, Benjamin. My name is Sir Robert Dansling. I speak highly of recommended by you by Dr. Snow. That was fast, I said. There's no time to waste, he said. A situation has come to my attention in the past 24 hours that causes me great concern. If my correction is complete, you've noticed this problem as well. You mean the asteroid? I said. Shh, he said. Someone might hear you. If people learn there's an asteroid on course collision with the planet, they'll go loopy. Destruction is the best course of lad. We mustn't breathe a word to anyone else. My lips looked around for a resting time. My lips are sealed, I said. I'll send for you tomorrow. I'm flying you out to New Mexico so we can talk in person. But I'm at school tomorrow. See you tomorrow, Mr. Franklin. There's not a moment to waste. Then, he wants me in New Mexico tomorrow, I said. You have school, I said Dad, and I'm doing my first test at school. We have to figure something out, I told his dad. Who's that man anyways, he said. His name was Sir Robert Dansling, I said. Sir Robert Dansling, Dad said, he's the world leader in space technology. So he'll be the first person to provide space flights for tourists as a vacation. Really, I thought. Maybe he could help with my space station zoo idea. Chapter 14, Riding in Style. I went to school the next day like any other day. The phone rang in my math class. My teacher answered it and told me I'd have to pass because I was going home early. The secretary in the front desk and Miss Penny and the principal looked confused. Benji, your father called us and told you to release you early. And they were, who's picking me up? The secretary pointed through the window looked like a long black limousine packed in front of the school. The windows were tinted and there was a little British flag put in front of the passenger door. What's that? I asked. We are hoping you can tell us that. It's highly unusual for a student to be picked up by a non-family member. Who's in the limo? I asked. Your father wouldn't say. He said he was out of the sea and your mother was out of town for business for the pantry and that when the limo would come up to pick you up. Alright then, I said, I'm free to go. I hope everything's fine, she said. When she said, I hope everything is fine, I realized that she thought something was wrong. Business, listen, she thought someone in my family had died or something. Everything is fine, I said. Keep up that positive attitude, Miss Carson. Miss Patty said. When I walked out, the man stepped out of the front door and realized that all the classes in the first building full of kids pressing against the windows. Good morning, Mr. Franklin, in a chauffeur said in a British accent. Nice car, I said. I wasn't sure what else to say, and my heart was pumping pretty fast. I realized this is highly unusual, I said. However, we are in the midst of an unusual situation. Your father is returning for the fishing lessons he's on, and he said that he's about to pick you up to the same time, and your mother's on live video chat. He handed me out the phone. I can see Mom on the house on the screen. Hi, Benji. She said, I've already run the road, and your father's on the boat. Sir Robert sent this car for you. I'm going to take you, meet Dad out the dock, and then you're off. Off the way, I said. Your father has all the details. I wish I could tag along, but I'm halfway to shiny desert to make delivery. Okay, Mom said, does this mean I'll be out for school for a few days? I don't know, honey, she said. The chauffeur nodded his head to indicate that I would be, in fact, be out for a few days, and it gave him a thumbs up. You've already missed too many days, she said. I don't want you missing much more, but this seems like an opportunity of a lifetime. And I'll let your father decide. He'll be with you the whole time. Have fun. And I'll give you a little call to see how things are going on. During the ride to pick up Dad, the driver kept the fastball in the front seat until the back of the limo shut. It was a little strange sitting alone in the back of a huge car. I ate a few bags of peanuts and watched some television. I may have to buy one of these if I and maybe one for Mom. Then she wouldn't have to go drive places like shiny desert all alone. Then hopped in when we reached the docks. He was wearing one of the magnetic swimsuits. How's it working? He said. Really well, he said, but we've only tested in calm water. I'll have to increase the magnetic force for the boat to work correctly in rough seas. I was wondering how much it was going to take Dad to acknowledge that I was out of school on a weekday, and that we were completely like a complete stranger. That was great. Anything else going on? He said. I watched him checking out the TV for a while until he found, what's the deal? So where are we going? Are you going to wear the mag suit the whole time? He said. Dad quickly unscrewed the helmets. Where are we going, Benji? I thought you knew. The glass portion between the front and back slightly slowed down. The chauffeur glanced we're driving to the airport, he said. But where are we going? He said. The desert, he told us. The desert? He cried, which one? Which one? Besides, I'm not dressed for the desert. the glass wall smoothly upside and cut off from the driver. How many deserts are in New Mexico? He said. The rest of the red dad told me about Sir Robert Jansley. He sounded like a wildly successful guy. He owned newspapers, shipping, businesses, TV stations, radio stations, and a ton of technology companies. He's even been knighted by the Queen of England. Why does he need me? Chapter 15. Up and away. We drove to the special gate of the airport. Security guards opened it. We drove into the runway. It was a special section for the airport for all the private jets. Wow, Dad said. He's been a plane that ever since he was a kid. I lowered the divider between the driver and I. Are we going to one of these jets? He said. The one at the end. The lines of all the amazing jets was the coolest of all, and it looked like a bullet with wings. That's a ECS Bolt 41, Dad said. Ah, I see you know your aircraft, the driver said. But that's actually a EC Bolt 42. It's next year's model. No one else has anything like it. It looks like a half plane, half spaceship, I said. You could say that. We are here, he said, stopping in the car and politely opening my door. Then I stepped out. A long mountain lowered from the plane. A man on top, he waved. That's Sir Robert Jansley, whispered Dad. Sir Robert was super tan, like he'd been in the sun every day of his life. I was surprised he wasn't in a business suit, or at least dressed up a little. He wore flip-flops and one of those brightly colored Hawaiian shorts. He shook my hand. Mr. Franklin, please come aboard and make yourself at home, I said. I've been on the plane 2 other times in my life. Once to Florida and once to California. On both times we flew on a regular plane. This plane was straight out of a movie. The luxury aircraft looked like an expensive hotel. There were actual rooms, a living room, a kitchen, and even a few bedrooms. Can I get you gentlemen something to see? We'd love a few turkey sandwiches if that's not too much trouble. first spotted the satellite asteroid a few days ago, I realized that you and I were probably the only two people with satellites designed to identify an asteroid of that size. It's very cool that you invited us here, I said, but what can I exactly do for you? That's what I think you'll be able to accomplish together, she said. My focus in life is to help others reach their full potential. I'm sure my team could figure out some way to deflect or destroy this asteroid, but I'm more interested in what you would do with it, Benji. Since you're so access to the world's best scientists, I said, why are you asking me? Indeed, I have access to the world's best and brightest, he said. However, I've already pointed out that you're the only one who seems to be the only other person to spot the asteroid. The world's best scientists haven't even been able to locate the asteroid. Why would they even want their help in destroying it? I thought for a moment. It was kind of amazing that no one had detected an asteroid that could possibly level cities and towns if nothing was done to change course. You realize as I believe you're an extraordinarily young man, said. I told Dr. Snell that you're having a Troodon to become a problem. But was going to be a problem. What surprised me was that he told me a 12-year-old boy solved the problem for him. And I said that you two to solve the asteroid situation. I had an idea. I wouldn't blow it up. I'd try landing it. I'm listening, he said. It'll be expensive, I said. Too expensive for a couple of zillionaires like us, he said, smiling. Never, I said. Have you ever heard of graphene? Chapter 16, The Asteroid Net. Of course, Sir Robert had heard of graphene. It's only the most exciting new material on the planet. It's super light and thin, but graphene also is the strongest material known to man. A few years ago, two scientists won the Nobel Prize for their work with graphene. They said that it was so strong a piece of graphene is thick as plastic wrapping is strong enough to hold an elephant. We've worked a little with graphene in my facility, said. Incredible material, said. As amazing as people say, said. It's flexible, strong, and it can conduct electricity, said. It's a miracle material. Then I knew all about graphene. We've read read articles and watched a lot of videos on it. Still, we've never actually seen it in person. Do you have graphene in your facility right now? Dad asked. We do, Sir Robert said. We'll plan to use it a great deal in the future, from everything to cell phones and phones to airplanes. But the technology hasn't been very advanced yet. Do you think a giant sheet of it would be strong enough to catch an asteroid? Definitely strong enough to catch an asteroid without breaking, he said. But it would be almost impossible to predict where the asteroid will impact on Earth. The odds of placing the graphene mesh to the right spot is 1 in a million. I'm not talking about catching the asteroid on Earth, I said. I'm talking about catching it before it enters the atmosphere. You could use one of your spaceships to get the mesh up there. So Robert stood up and walked to the large fin computer screen. He clicked the control switch and then opened an animation for come here, Benji, come here, he said. Let's see if you can get a sense of exactly what you're talking about. Benji, Dad, and I walked over to the screen. Tell him what you're thinking. So I said the program will create a visual model. You're kidding, I explained. You're not the only person capable of creating a cool computer program. He said, if you describe an idea to the program, it will show what the concept would look like. Give it a go. Okay, I tried to form the idea in my head, but it was tricky explaining it to a computer program clear enough so it could create a visual model for us. We launched a rocket into space containing a graphene mesh long enough and wide enough to catch the asteroid, I began. The screen immediately displayed an animation of a rocket displaying a thin line in space. I continued. 4 other rockets would then attach themselves into each corner of the sheet. These rockets would be able to hover in space, holding each corner of the sheet, able to capture as the asteroid zooms towards Earth. The high-tech machine took a few seconds, but they created an animation similar to what I imagined. This program is amazing, he said. Amazing, I said. Much colder than a turkey sandwich? So Robert joked. Let's see the rest of your idea, I said. Don't lose your concentration. When the asteroid makes contact with the mesh, the 4 rockets will fire, I said. This will allow us to remotely control the asteroid to Earth safely. I couldn't believe that only in a few minutes The program managed to create what I was thinking in my mind. I was worried that the plan seemed a little far-fetched, but I was seeing it. I felt very possible. Begin production of materials. I was telling the program. What will that do? I'll send the plans to my team and they can get to work right away. That's astonishing. Dad said. It's technology, Mr. Franklin. I love it, I said. You haven't seen anything yet, Sir Robert said. We touched down in about 3 hours later at his facility in the desert. This place looked like a scene from Star Wars. There were several buildings around what looked like a futuristic airport. People worked busily everywhere I looked. He had more jets, race cars, and rockets that I couldn't imagine. Many of them looked like a rocket that was used a long time ago. I'm a bit of a collector, he said. The luxury aircraft came to stop. We climbed onto the runway. Then he and Dad talked about our early days of aviation as he gave us a tour of his facility. I could tell that Dad was having the time of his life. As the sun was setting, Sir Robert said, I'd like to show you gentlemen my most prized project, he said. We walked to this large building on the side of the facility. It was buzzing with activity. There were people in bright red suits assembling what looked like a spacecraft. This is the future, Benji. So I said that you're looking at my prized possession. Next step in aviation, and the craft will lead humanity into space in large numbers. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was the most advanced rocket ship I've seen. I've seen them all now. This is a top secret machine, he continued. Every part you see is right here in my space center. I don't take any chances of getting a poor product or people learning what I'm up to. I hope I can help you to keep my secret. Of course, Dad said. I'm just trying to figure out what it can do, I said. It wasn't a sci-fi movie, it was the real deal. These are low-orbit ships, explained Sir Robert. Their missions will be programmed ahead of time and no pilot needed. All you do is open the door, get in, and you're off into a great beyond. Space tourists will get to low orbit, take a few pictures, shoot some video, and basically have the time of their lives. It's the coolest idea ever, I said. We have several ships complete and ready to go. I was just waiting to write time to test them. We'll use your astroplane as the reason to launch them into space. Chapter 17. Suit Up. That night, Mom called how things were going to check it if we were going to be school the next day. Dad told her that the things I was experiencing were too extraordinary to miss and would probably be out for a few more days. After dinner, one of Sir Robert's assistants showed Dad and me to a small building at the edge of the airport. You gentlemen will be staying here for the next few days, so make yourself comfortable. Please, let me know if you need anything. He each had handed him a laptop with the access data from Dad's satellite to give us all and give us access to all of Sir Robert's data too. His satellites were way more advanced than the one Dad unlocked. They even had live video feeds from space. Dad and I were up half the night checking out the space scene. We must have fallen asleep really late because the next thing I knew it was morning and I was drooling on the couch and Dad was snoring on the floor. Then there was the knock on the front door of Sir Robert. He came in and on the couch. I see you two were settling. We had we spent most of the night exploring your satellites. They're really fantastic. That's kind of you to say, but I'm just amazed that you got something up there that functions as a satellite using scrap parts, he said. Dad, you haven't seen our property, I said. It's not your average scrap heap. It's a store shop full of anything you can imagine. Dad's been messing around with mechanical things for so long that he can build anything. I'm just a hobby builder, Dad said. My own father was the same way, Dad. As once he built me a hovercraft out of a watering pool, a milling machine, a microwave oven, and an electric toothbrush. That's amazing, Sir Robert said. Yeah, he said. It didn't go very far, but he had the cleanest teeth in the state. I grew up in private schools, always full of nannies and tutors. I said, I've always been book smart, but I've never been a do-it-yourselfer. It's good for me to spend time with you two. You're true inventors of the purest sense. You're a super inventor, I said. This place looks like Disneyland. I'm happy to share with you, he said. We have a busy day planned, but I thought you could have a little fun before you rolled up in your sleep for the workday. Can you fly one of your ships, I asked? There's no better time than the present. The ship he showed us could carry 2 to 4 passengers. Sir Robert pressed the button on the outside of the ship and 3 sheets popped up. They were large, comfortable looking at each other in the arc. The ship was like a large toy, reminded me of a wave runner, about 3 times the size. It had small wings on the side. It looked like it could be part of a ride for an amusement park. I couldn't believe that this thing would be able to carry us into outer space. Can it really take us into orbit? I said. More than capable, he said. In fact, I think you'd be surprised how easy the day tipper can take us on a round trip. Are you gents ready for to space? Dad looked like it popped up with excitement. If you were a kid, you'd been jumping up and down. I'm ready, he said. I'm ready for this one ever since I was a kid. Me too, I said sarcastically. Benji, when you and your father were children, people thought that we'd be able to visit space in our lifetime, but technology didn't deliver fast enough for me. That's why I decided to create a technology on my own terms. Have you been up here before? I said. This is my 10th trip. Only a handful of people have up so far. I'm proud to inform you that you'll be the first non-adult that I'll put into space. A man rolled up a cart containing 3 fold-up suits. Here's the suits you requested, Sir Robert. Thank you, Arthur. We'll be off in about 10 minutes. Please alert the team in the tower. Will do, sure. Before I knew, Dad was sitting on his suit half on. Well, I'll be thrilled to see you excited, Mr. Johnson said. Let's suit up and get up there. Moments later, we were seated on the ship. It really felt like a music ride. When the engine turned on, it wasn't as loud as I expected. And I sat in the middle of seat with Dad and Sir Robert in the middle. The control panel was really simple, and I'd be expected full of gadgets and gizmos, but it wasn't. The cameras were showing us ear view of the craft. There was a torch on the screen on the seat, giving it data as much as time, temperature, and so on. There were several navigation types: tower, comm, video, email, notes, music, and GPS. It was the inside was that was it. The inside was simple, clean, and very modern. There was even the drink holder, which I wondered it really kept drinks in a holder or simply flew them once it reached zero gravity. Zero G. I've always wanted to go to space. I'm sure the view would be amazing, but the real reason I always want to go to space is to experience the weightlessness. Sir Robert, will we experience weightlessness when we go on the ship? I asked. Of course. So what will a trip to outer space be while experiencing zero G? But the cockpit is so loud and we aren't so tight. I said, I don't understand. Trust me, you'll experience zero gravity. We buckled in and the ship pulled slowly out of the hangar. It was a perfect day. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. We rolled along the aisle, picking up speed. In 20 seconds, the front was tipped and the ship was tunneling flight. It was amazing how safe I felt. Slowly, we gained altitude, but before I knew it, we were above the clouds. How are you guys feeling? Sir Robert asked. Fantastic, I said. I can't believe we won't need helmets or anything. I'm so used to seeing astronauts in heavy gear, Dad said. That's one of the main goals with this little ship. So I want passengers to feel like they're in a car. Or an X-Wing fighter, I said. Go ahead and recline if you like. The button on the seat is there. When you get into outer space, you may want to lay back completely in your seat to get a better look at the stars. I'm fine, I said. I'm feeling my first bit of nervousness. I didn't want to admit that I was worried, but all of a sudden I felt more and more nervous by the minute. The numbers were shown of altitude were slowly climbing so fast I couldn't read them, and the speed was picking up pretty drastically. We're climbing first. I knew that in a matter of minutes we'd be either in outer space or in a million pieces. I thought about Mom. She'd probably be worried about over mine if you knew what Dad and I were doing. And can I call Mom once we're out of orbit? I said, of course, you can call her whenever you like, Dad. Sir Rod said. I relaxed a little and couldn't wait to get high enough to see Earth as a blue ball floating in space. The ship climbed and climbed until I could feel a difference. The engine cut off and the ship seemed to float. Did you know that once you've reached an altitude of 50 miles above the planet, you are by definition an astronaut? Sir Robert asked. When I looked at the space torch, there were 60 miles or 62 miles counting. Welcome to space, gentlemen. It was such a strange sensation looking back on the place. It was just like seeing videos and pictures, but it was real. Dad literally had a tear in the eye for a second. For a split second, I thought he might cry or throw up. It was overwhelming. I was in outer space. Chapter 18, Zero Gravity. Hi Mom, I'm in space. What are you doing? What do you mean you're in space? Where's your father? She asked. I'm right here, she said. Dad said, leaning over the same face. You're kidding, right? I'm happy to inform Madam that you two fellows are officially astronauts and we're speaking as we orbit the Booth Mall in space. What are you doing in space? It's fine, Mom. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Sir Robert's ship is as comfortable as you wouldn't believe it's a spaceship. I wish you had let me know before you decide blasting off. It all happened so fast. It seemed like the opportunity of a lifetime. That I have them safely back on the ground in less than 20 minutes, Mom. I felt it was a little odd he called her Mom, but Mom. But I could tell by her face that she didn't like it. All right, but you call me the second back on Earth. Roger that, I said, hanging up. You were wondering about zero gravity, so press the button on your touchpad. The clickable button appeared on my touchpad that read zero gravity. I pressed the button and immediately the glass cover above our heads rose and stretched about 15 feet before stopping. Sir Robert unclipped the harness and rolled back to zero gravity. Feel free to unbuckle when you're ready. Let's go, that's it. Enthusiastically, I clicked the button on my harness and immediately felt weightless. Rather than in the sea, I was like in space. I gently floated up. I reached out to grab something to balance myself and ended up grabbing Dad's ankle. Sir Robert was already about 5 feet above us doing somersaults. I noticed a pen fall out of his pocket and in the air near him. I pushed off Dad's ankle and propelled towards the ceiling of the ship. I tucked my knees up to my chest and rotated on the flip. This is absolutely the best thing ever. I gotta get Mom up here one day, I said. You can email her the video and the entire flight. The ship records everything. Can I have a copy? If you plan to capture the asteroid, you can have more than that. For the first time since I climbed on the ship, I felt the real reason we come up to the desert. We were there to help capture the asteroid. It was time to return to Earth and get to work. Sir Robert clicked the button and the ceiling started lowering back to its original size. We all bucked back down and began our descent to Earth. It took a last look at the planet from space. Soak it up, Benji said, you may never get an opportunity to visit space again. I'm quite sure that this will be the first of many space flights for young Master Franklin, the Sir said. I hope you're right, I said. Trust me, you'll be back. Chapter 19. Nice catch. It was a good thing that we got an early start on all the preparation because the asteroid was traveling faster than we first realized. After about a week of people working around the clock at the facility, we were ready to put my plan into motion. And Dad and I stayed in New Mexico for the whole week. Since we were working, Mom decided to stay out in Shiny Desert until we were ready to head home. Dad, Sir Robert, and I went back to space on one of his ships before the rockets were launched. One of his team stayed at the facility and another was preparing a landing spot for the asteroid. Once we were in space, Sir Robert handed me the digital screen that controlled his rockets. The moment of truth has arrived, Benji. I took a deep breath. There was so much adrenaline rushing through my body, I felt like it might burst. What if it doesn't work? I asked. What if it does? He said. It'll be the most amazing thing ever. I said, then let's do the most amazing thing ever. Dad patted me on the back. Let's do it. It's time to put things in motion. On my screen, I had a view of the asteroid. It was approaching exactly as we planned. I clicked the button to launch the first four rockets. The video from the ground showed all the four firing and launching. I waited a few seconds to craft the fifth rocket launching containing the graphene mesh. It blasted up exactly as planned. Phase 1 complete, Sir Robert said. We watched the video screens from each rocket and the coordinates where we were located. In a few minutes, they were in place. Each was programmed to carry out the mission, but if anything went wrong, I had the ability to override the program from our ship. The fifth rocket released the graphene mesh and cut the engines as planned. The other four maneuvered into position. Each docked at the mesh into position. Each one docked a corner of the mesh, spreading it like a gigantic space web. We zoomed closer to the ship for a visual inspection of the setup. It felt like dreaming. In space, we're really about to catch an asteroid. Is this really happening? I said, Dad. I asked Dad as we were searching in the mesh. It's really happening, Dad said. Don't ask me how, but it's happening. We better move to a safer distance, Mom said. This is all gonna happen really fast. We traveled for a while until we all agreed we were safe from an asteroid. We tracked every move on a video screen. It was moving so fast that I feel like I considered I was destroy the mesh and crash to Earth. I held the breath for what seemed forever and I approached closer. It made a direct hit for the center of the mesh, which ignited the 4 rockets. The force of the rockets pulled in the opposite direction and the asteroid was traveling. We worried that the force of the asteroid would tear the mesh away from the rocket, but the graphene was strong enough to hold on. It stretched out a bunch and kept stretching. The force of the rockets slowed the asteroid dramatically. The force of the asteroid's speed and the force of the rockets created an epic battle of tug-of-war. Which would win? Within a few minutes it was over and the asteroid was gliding safely under the control of the rockets. Phase 2 complete, was sounding relieved. Dad didn't say a word. He was swinging pretty heavily and noticed his finger was crossed. Are you alright, Dad? I said. About as good as I can be under these circumstances. Phase 3 plan was complete. Looking forward to the most. The rockets carefully guided the satellite down to Earth. We followed behind. We were close enough to watch it with our own eyes. The asteroid was much more massive than I imagined. It was like a floating mountain. I couldn't believe how well the rockets were working. At this pace, we'd be on the surface in a couple minutes. You should probably call Mom, Dad said. He was right. He clicked the screen. Hi, Mom, he said. Hi, Mom, what are you doing? I'm working. We just got back to Shiny Desert a little while ago. I'm making another run back to the farm to pick up more supplies for the town. Great, do me a favor. Head outside and look in the sky. Benji, I'm pretty busy. We got a lot of supplies we need to organize. Trust me, Yoli. I'll see you in a few minutes. Then I hung up. Phase 4 coming up, Dad said. Phase 4 on the way, I said. We're getting low enough so we can see the ground. We're under the crowds. That's coming in. Things were coming into view. That's it. Mom's truck. I saw the truck. Spotted Mom. She had walking out of the building and looking up at us. I couldn't imagine what going through her mind, gazing up at the massive asteroid supported by all 4 rockets. People from the nearby town was pouring out of the buildings too. It was a real commotion. The rocket landed safely on the coordinates we programmed. It was a perfect spot just outside the town. The ground vibrated where the space rocket contacted. Sir Robert landed our ship near the asteroid, and Mom ran over to us. Chapter 20. Bright Future. By the time Mom and the team sprayed the asteroid with water to cool it to a safe level, hundreds of people had lined up for a look. Sir Robert handed him a microphone. Citizens of Shiny Desert, he said, we at Dransling Industries realize that you have fallen on hard times. You're a hard-working community, and you don't deserve the misfortune that fell on you when Tech Quran left you without jobs. I wasn't familiar with your story until a young friend of mine brought it up to my attention. Throughout the series of miraculous events, we managed to save the planet from a deadly asteroid and your towns all at once. Please accept this asteroid as a gift. It should provide adequate income as a tourist destination for many years to come. Additionally, said the billionaire, I plan to move a portion of my business to your town. I'm building my space tourism business, and I'm opening an assembly plant right here in Shiny Desert. Construction of the new plant will begin as soon as possible, and we'll begin hiring tomorrow. We will look forward to a brighter future together. The crowd cheered. This was all your idea, wasn't it? Mom said. I don't know what to say, Benji. You've managed to solve the town's problem and save the planet in one swoop. You're my own pine science hero. I felt kind of overwhelmed at all. It had all been a crazy couple of weeks. I knew my life would never be the same again. But I also knew I wanted to try to keep changing as much as I could. That's when Sir Rob said, folks, I can't stand over here and take all the credit for today. There's a young man who's brains behind the whole thing. He's here somewhere. He's talking about you, Benji. He said, get ready to go up on the stage. I took Mom by the hand and led her to the crowd. What are you doing, Mom said. The hero never sticks around for a thank you, I reminded her. Besides, I have something I want to show you. I led Mom over to the ship. Get a load of this, I exclaimed. Benji, this is very pretty, but we should get back. I'd rather show you something else. Dad ran up. I lost you guys back there. Sir Ron was looking for you. Let him take all the credit. I'd rather take Mom for a spin. Great day, he said, opening the door, my dear. Where are we going? Trust me, I said. We climbed in. I called Sir Robert's phone, and his face appeared. And Benji, where are you? These people want to thank you. You enjoy it. I'm gonna take Mom for a spin if that's okay with you. By all means, just don't forget to swing by and pick me up when you're all done. Will do, I said. I hung up and told Mom to get ready. Benji, do you know how to control this thing? I don't need to. It's already programmed. Programmed to go where? To space, I said, pressing the button. The ship lifted off the ground, and Mom screamed and grabbed it into Mom. Well, I like it, she said, looking terrified. You'll love it, I said, and the ship bolted into outer space. Mom let out another scream, and then she said, Benji, you're too much! What on earth are you gonna accomplish next? I have no idea, I said, but I can't wait to find out. Notice of payment. From NEO, Near Earth Orbiter. To Benji Franklin. Item, quantity, amount. Liquid fuel rockets, 5, $8 million. Graphene sheeting, 160,000 feet, $1,500,000. Liquid jet fuel, $235,000. Cash registers, $450. One-story building, $654,550. Total cost, $10,390,000. Payment due upon receipt. Paid. Ka-ching! So yeah, that's the end of Benji Franklin Kid Zillionaire. Now this is only the first book in the series. I have the second book on me right now, so stay tuned for more for more books by Raymond B. Thank you for listening. Prodigyrex, out.